In math, it's something you don't see in other programs. You see the concrete, and then there's the abstract, but there isn't a bridge. And a lot of kids need a bridge. But before we dive into that, I do just want to touch on that Montessori and sight words, because that is an excellent question. And so a couple of ways that you can work on sight words. All right, by chance, are you using movable alphabet for teaching phonics and working on reading and spelling phonics words with that manipulative?
Not yet. I want to get the Montessori movable alphabet, because y'all do, like in Montessori, they do the vowels one color and the
Yes.
consonants another. And so I need, there, I do a lot of cutting out right now. So we have some movable, we have them quote unquote, um, but yeah, I'm really
And,
like
and
just
and we do, by the way, have the movable alphabet with that Language Arts Kit A, along with
right.
the metal insets that I am such a huge fan of.
Love the metal insets.
But with that movable alphabet, you'll do phonics and you can also do sight words. So as the child is able to, with introducing the first four letters that we introduce are C, M, A, T, and with that, they can start to read some simple words. And as you use those to, create phrases and things, you'll begin to include sight words. And instead of sounding it out like you would letter by letter, you just put the sight word and say it. And you can use nomenclature cards for sight words also. Amanda, I did hear you recommend one of my favorite things that I had always done, and that was on, you said your friend used three Post-it notes. I use 3x5 cards and label everything in the house. And that was really helpful. Another thing is closed captioning on the TV. I had that on for many, many years. And now I use it because my hearing isn't so great. So we transitioned from using it for reading assistance support to that. But, the same way that you introduce the phonetic components, you introduce the sight words just as that whole unit. And you add those gradually, the same way that you gradually add the things that work phonetically. As they master them, incorporate more into that use. So it's very, very holistic, which is also how we teach the multi-digit edition. And official welcome to this edition of Tuesdays at 2. I am Antoinette LaGrossa. If you're not familiar with Schiller Learning, we are part of the Rising Stars Foundation. We are a nonprofit here to support you as homeschooling parents and educators to maximize, looking to help you help your child maximize their potential with that multisensory personalized approach to education. Now, prior to this, and a recent prior session that we did was doing 4-digit addition with decimal material, your beautiful base 10 blocks, and the number cards. That is that absolute concrete learning by doing. They're doing the operation with the actual materials. Once the child achieves competency and closure with that skill at that level, it's time to progress them to that next stage, which would be doing then dynamic addition with those materials with the exchange. Once they master that, then we're going to want to transition them to this next phase using the number tiles. Very important to remember is that what the hand does, the mind remembers. One of my absolute favorite Montessori quotes. You see that reflected throughout everything that we do here at Schiller Learning. You'd think I'd be able to say that clearly, whether it is with our math, language arts, or the other materials that we have, the seasonal activity packs, the world culture and geography. Also, if you explore our website, we have a whole host of hands-on science support for you as well. So with this activity, you're going to be using your number tiles, and that sometimes people are confused between number cards and number tiles. Easy way to remember is that your number tiles are all the same size, whereas your number cards, which are for place value, are sized algorithmically. So they're all different sizes. Your number tiles are all the same size, like many of a tile floor. So you will need your number tiles as well as your addition sheets that you can find in your 3-ring binder. In your binder, you have addition, subtraction, and multiplication worksheets in there, but you can print however many of those that you need from your customer downloads. And if you've got the digital kit, then that is where you're going to find those. If you have the Math Kit 1 Basic, that one doesn't come with the 3-ring binder, but you're going to have those sheets tucked in with your other printed material. Okay, so we've got addition sheets, we've got our number tiles. Now, as I mentioned prior to this, your child will have achieved that competency and closure with both the 4-digit static as well as 4-digit dynamic addition, as well as subtraction. The progression of the books, they're going to have done both the addition and subtraction with the number cards and decimal material. In Schiller Learning, we do the addition and subtraction together because those are inverse operations, and they are really easy for the kids to master both the skill as well as those basic facts when they are seeing that relation between those concepts. And it's just the reverse, so it's really easy to remember. And then we want to go ahead and introduce the number tiles. So as I mentioned, prior to this, the student will have been working with their place value number cards and their decimal material. So now we're going to use those cards, and it's all scripted out in the book for you, but you'll use the number card, correlate that to that manipula that they've been using, and show them, okay, you know, this is one, this is one, this is one, that that number card. And we're not going to use this concrete material anymore. We're going to use that number card. And is the light totally washing that out for you? Which, if it is, you can see those in that PowerPoint there. Okay, so we introduced the 1, and we're going to show them that 10 number card, the 10 rod, and again, that 10 number tile. And we're not going to use this anymore. We're going to use this. The 100, we're not going to use this anymore. We are going to use this. The 1,000, we're not going to use this anymore. We are going to use this. So you'll see that, and you can see in my hand as well as on that screen there, the number tiles are still color-coded like your number cards, but they're that next step toward abstraction because They're no longer algorithmically sized for place value. They are all that same size. So it's that little bit further to abstraction. And then also furthering that abstraction, they're no longer using that concrete physical material. But they're still going to have the guide of a manipulative. So it is that crucial bridge that is missing from pretty much every other approach out there. I have not seen anything else that has that bridge between the concrete manipulative and the abstract, just working with numbers um, on paper with pencil. Okay, so let's take a look at doing the static addition without exchange, also known as carrying. This is going to look really familiar to you because it's just like what we did with the other materials. So it's similar enough to what the child has already done. We're going to go through the same steps, but it is also different enough that they are going to gain additional benefit from it, taking them to that next level. So now, instead of forming number or problems with our number cards, we are going to write the problem out. The When you introduce this is found in lesson book 3, by the way, in Math Kit 1. Math Kit 1 has books 1, 2, and 3, and that's going to take you through 4-digit multiplication and division. Again, it is totally scripted out. It'll give you the first problem to, do the presentation with the child, as well as a list of additional practice problems for the child to do independently. Okay, so first we're going to write the problem onto the sheet. You can see that there are boxes there that are going to help keep your numbers super organized and to help the child write neatly as they get further in. They're going to write their math problems on graph sheets. We really help to keep that work neat, organized. This is also great support for kids with dysgraphia, dyslexia, as well as dyscalculia. Okay, so we have that. We're writing in the problem, and then just like we got the materials when we were working with the physical things, we're going to get that manipulative, but now it's in that card format. So just like we would have gotten 2 unit cubes, we are going to get 2 of those 1 number cards from our number card box that we have sitting right there with our paper. We will get 1 of the 10 tiles, and we will get 3 of the 100 tiles and 4 of those 1,000 tiles out. So we get the materials for the first add-in, we get the materials for that second add-in, and then we are going to do exactly what we would have done with the actual physical materials, and we are going to first bring down our ones. So we've got 2 and 6. Now, by time a student gets to this activity in the books, most kids are going to have mastered their basic math facts and will instantly just know that, oh, well, 2 and 6, that's 8. But if not, they have the support of this slight, more abstract manipulative, but they still have the support of that, and they can go ahead and add those up. Then they're going to go and do that same thing with the tens, the same thing with their, and then of course, as they bring it down, instead of getting the number card, they're going to write the answer in on that sheet. Okay, we've got 3 and 1/100ths. And the other thing is that's still reinforcing what those numbers are representing in those different place value columns. So again, for that student who has dyscalculia and really struggles with that number sense and an understanding of place value, this is going to be an excellent tool to cement to them that that 3 in the hundreds column is very different than a 3 that would be in the 10 or the units, because they're seeing, after having seen it in the physical format, they're still seeing it with that number tile. It's reinforcing that, getting that to really stick as they go through that process and bringing each of those place values down. Okay, so that 3 and 100ths, as you all know, that's 4, and you can set those to the side. And then now in this instance, in this problem, we've got 4 thousands in the first add-in, but there aren't any thousands in the second. So we're simply going to have 4 thousands there. And then they can self-check with those number tiles that they have brought down. So you can be, they can be putting them to the side and adding them up, self-checking at that point. But now in that final stage, they can self-check again. Or if you look and see, oh, they made a mistake, you could ask a question designed to help them discover their own error. So for example, if they had written 8 for the tens instead of that 7, you could ask them, you know, to look at their tens again. You know, that questioning, that Socratic method that we encourage to help the student discover their own error. Because a student who identifies and self-corrects their mistake is going to be less likely to repeat that mistake again in the future. So at this point, does this make total sense for everyone? And it just seems very natural from what we have done up to this point? Or does anyone have any questions on what we've done so far? And it does, it just flows from those other activities that they've done. And I love when we are exhibiting at conventions, and first convention is coming up. Let's see, it is next week. I can't believe it is almost here already. So next week is Great Homeschool Convention in Greenville, South Carolina. Hope to see anyone who is in the area there. But at convention, when I show that, I do demonstrations with that 4-digit addition with the, you know, the materials and the number cards, and then show this bridge. And for those middle school kids who are struggling with math and looking for a new solution, like this is just, you can see even just in that moment in the booth showing and explaining how we do things differently, that light bulb go off, and it's a wonderful support. Okay, so then they get good with it doing static addition, that's addition without exchange. Then you guessed it right, we go into addition with exchange, or that carrying. Now, prior to doing exchange, I've mentioned this when we did the addition with the decimal material and number cards. Prior to doing that, they play the exchange game where they will combine various quantities of a place value, say, you know, 5 and 7 ones. And when they get up to 10, they exchange those 10 ones for that next place value up in their bank, which of course is the tens. And did I say 5 and 7? If I did, then they have those 2 ones and then the single 10 rod. And they get good at that before going into using exchange in operations. So before a student gets to where they're doing exchange in the operations like this, they are solid with that procedure. So the exchange is just, second nature. They don't have to think about it. They never struggle with it. It is really a neat way of teaching that, I can tell you, because um, I tried multiple different ways, multiple different programs with one of my kids before we switched into Schiller. And that in particular was just like, wow, this is magic. Okay, so now we are going to do that dynamic addition. We're going to have an exchange. So again, the book's going to tell you an example problem to place in onto your number tile, your addition sheet there, write the problem, get the materials first for the top add-in, then for that bottom, and then we are going to start combining those materials and calculating that sum. Okay, so now in that first step, we've got 2 and 9 ones, which of course is going to involve an exchange. And just like the student had done with the physical materials, where they take those 9 and 2 unit cubes and exchange that, keep the 1 unit cube and exchange the 10 unit cubes for the 10 rod in their bank, they're going to do the same thing with the number tiles and take those 10 tiles, exchange it for a 10 tile, keeping that 1 in the ones column. And then just like we did with the physical material, and where we would take that 10 rod, place it above the tens column with the other tens materials, we're going to take that 10 tile, place it above the tens column, and you guessed it, we will make a note that, oh, we're going to make a note to ourselves that we put 1 of these here so that we remember. Makes total sense to the child that we would want to do that. And now that floating 1 that can often just really confuse kids. They don't truly understand what it means. It trips them up. They forget what to do with it. They're going through learning by doing. The mind is going to remember what the hand is doing in these steps. So we make that note, and then we are going to go ahead, bring those down. We've got the 1 that was exchanged, the 1 that was already there, the 6. So we've got 8 of those. We're going to bring down our hundreds then. We have 4 of those. Bringing down our thousands, we have got 4 of those. So you can see how very simple it is to use this as a bridge between, working with those physical materials, and then we're going to have the student get proficient at this stage and then be able to gracefully transition into that abstract with just working with pencil and paper. And then again, we can, check that by laying those all out. They can count them up. The materials really are self-checking so that the student is able to, discover any mistakes for themselves. And they can go through that step by step with combining those physical materials. Now, how the student combines the physical materials is going to vary from child to child. So some will like to just put them in a pile at the bottom of each one and count them up to self-check as they do each of the columns. That's really fine. They can put them off to the side and then bring the physical material down that way also. Don't feel stressed if you show your child one particular way of placing them on in their work area. And if they immediately shortcut and go to just bringing them straight down, that's okay. If they're successful with that, that is fine. If they need to place them off to the side in those separate areas and then bringing them down, that is perfectly okay as well. And then there are some students that once they get to this presentation, they may see this just a couple of times and then be able to transition right to just working abstractly. Other students may need to practice this skill with these materials over the course of, days or weeks or even months. That is okay. Just, observe the child to see when they have, achieved that competency and closure, and then offer to move them to that next step. Observation is a really important part of our homeschooling. And sometimes as we get further into homeschooling and we have all different activities to go to, although with gas prices, I don't know if everyone's doing quite as many activities as they used to. I'm now looking at distances. You know, an hour away activity was not as much of a thought as it is now. But we tend to get overscheduled. That's one of the reasons why when we talk about scheduling and planning, I really urge people to schedule white space in their schedule, that blank schedule card, that blank zone in their scheduling book, so that there is nothing to do, because we do have that tendency um, for overscheduling. And one of the negative consequences of that is that we become harried and we observe our child less and less. But that observation really is a crucial part of homeschooling, because everything that we need to know about our child, we can learn simply by observing them. And we can see what areas they're struggling in, what they love, what they'd like more of, where they need that additional support, and where they're excelling. Um, you know, where we might add additional challenges as well as additional supports. So, be sure that you make time to just quietly sit and observe what your child is doing, because that's also going to give you wonderful homeschool memories. And you'll find that you have epiphanies in that quiet observation time as well. I know we said we were going to just cover addition, but as I mentioned earlier, addition and subtraction are inverse operations. And so I'm just going to walk you through quickly what that looks like with subtraction, because it is just like what they're doing with addition, but again, just the opposite. So the book is going to give you an example problem. You'll write that in. And then we put all of the number tiles down, of course, just for that top number, because our bottom number is going to tell us how many of those materials to take away. And then just like when we're doing addition, we start with subtraction. So we started with 3 of those number tiles. We're going to take 2 of the 1 tiles away. We can return those to the number tile box or the bank, and you could just put them inside. I have them above it just so that you see, where they moved. And then we have 1 of those left, so that's going to be our answer there. Then we are taking away 4 of the 10s. We've got just 1 of those left. Then we are going to take away, let's see, just 1 of those hundreds. That's going to leave us with 4. We're going to take away 5 of those thousands, and that is going to leave us with 4. Okay, then dynamic subtraction, same thing. We are going to start with a written problem. The materials for that are the number that we're starting off with. We'll get those. In this case, I'm showing where the number tiles are just above. So you can show where you're laying them all out, and then also show with just putting them, um, above those numbers or below, and then let your child determine, which method that they want to follow. When you're introducing it initially, I do like to just lay them out in those columns like that. Again, students do tend to not spend a tremendous amount of time at that stage. They'll quickly go to this, and then again, a lot of students will quickly transition just to working abstractly then. Okay, we're doing the same thing. Um, Now, in this case, when we get to the tens, well, we can't take 7 tiles away from the 6, so we're going to need to exchange one of our 100 tiles for 10 tiles. We'll do that out of that bank. And we're also then going to make a note for ourselves that we no longer have 5 of those 100 tiles because we're exchanging one of them. We're left with only 4 of them. And adding that noted 1 in front of the 6 is because we no longer have 10 tiles. We have 16 of them. Again, nail that notation that, a lot of students struggle with that stage of math. It makes total sense to them because they are doing it with the materials. And I know I say it a lot, but the mind remembers what the hand does. Okay, so then we are going to bring those down, and then working with our thousands there. And we can then go ahead, check with our materials. You can see how very concrete the use of, the number tiles still is, because the student is getting to see what is happening with that abstract notation now as they are writing that, which just makes it click really well for kids and set them up for success with mastering 4-digit, both addition as well as subtraction, working with those number tiles instead of the more concrete decimal material and number cards. Okay, so that is going to wrap this up. Did anyone have any questions on any of those steps in use of the number tiles, or on any other homeschool topic in general that we can help you out with before we break for today? Next week, we're going to talk about circle time, which is something that is used in Montessori classrooms and makes an excellent fit for homeschooling. We've got a brand new downloadable product coming out soon, and that is going to be some circle time posters that no matter what curriculum you're using, you'll be able to use those in your homeschool to guide your circle time, to reinforce information that they are learning. Oh, excellent. Thank you. I'm glad that you found that helpful. It really is just such a simple bridge step between that absolute concrete and the absolute abstract. And it's great to see how well students transition with this important bridge step there. Oh, by the way, in Montessori, what we've just done here, that is referred to as the stamp game. Uh, so if you ever, encounter someone asking you if you do the stamp game, if you do this activity that we've just gone through, then yes, you are doing the Montessori stamp game. Explore the blog. We do have a lot of wonderful free downloads in addition to paid activity packs. And if you're looking for cards to help you out with sight words, all of those activity packs, almost all of them, do have nomenclature cards included with those, and they are excellent for both working on both words that can be decoded phonetically as well as things that are sight words. So that's something that you can add into your language arts instruction as well. Okay, well, again, all of the materials and activities that we looked at today are part of the 20-pound Math Kit 1 and the hundreds of activities that are in that kit. So if you are looking for something that gives you the materials, gives you the guidance, in addition to what we've gone over today, Math Kit 1 is what you want to take a look at. If you have any questions on how your child would place into that or using the lesson plan builder for creating personalized learning plans, do reach out to us. You can get us at that toll-free number or at either blog or support@schillerlearning.com. Thanks, guys. It was great to be here with you again today.